start, part 2. Just finishing up with the verse 13 of Psalms 5. Ki ata tabarak tzadik Yahweh, ka zana ratzon ta atarnu. For you bless righteous. Who is Yahweh? Yahweh is the one who has called the seventh day Kadosh. He determined that the way the universe works is that this one day out of the week is made Kadosh and all the other ones are not. You can call one of the other ones holy. You can call all the days set apart and holy. That's not what he said. He said one particular day of the week, the seventh day, is Kadosh. He built it, called it, labeled it, executed it, made it so. And it's our job to figure out which day of the week that is if we want to engage the Kadoshness of the day. So when people say, we've been lied to, it's not Saturday. Shut up, you're causing trouble. No, they might be right. We got to figure out, is it correct? Because we've been lied to about the calendar and possibly about the sequence of 7 days following 7 days following 7 days, going all the way back. I've heard people talk about the fact that we've been lied to about that. And I don't have means personally to determine if they're right or if they're not. So I will maintain that it's the seventh day, Saturday, until I can prove, or somebody can prove to me otherwise. Perhaps the people talking about the lunar Sabbath, perhaps they're right. I'm not going to say they're idiots, that they're wrong, that they're stupid. Other people use those words. I would never use those words because I don't know. We've been lied to about everything. And those people that are trying to determine what day is the Kadosh day with all their heart are trying to walk with Yahuwah and seek his face and his ways and determine who he is by what he made. Did he just make some random 7 days, or is it because of creation, the phases of the moon? That's why the calendar is such an issue. And I know people that say, the calendar is so contentious, just forget it. It's a matter of trying to be his people. We shouldn't disdain each other for trying to do the right thing. You, Yahuwah, Baruch Zadik, righteousness. Kaf Zadi Nun Hey. Zadi Nun Hey is shield, but it's a fishing hook. Sheep, large basket, coldness. Like a shield, let's just go with that. Zadi Nun. The only way to break it down more than that, if you're just looking at the translations of the various meanings in the dictionary, is to look at the spelling of the word. Zadi, the sprout, resurrection. Nun, well, that's also the two letters that are men, or the Vav and the rest. The two letters that are weapon are the Zion and the Zadi. The two letters that speak of a sprout of life is the Nun and the Zadi. And here you've got Zadi Nun, this resurrected sprout of life. So does it mean shield? Does it mean fishhook? Or does it mean like a resurrected sprout? And then hay is to express or reveal. There's more than just looking at the dictionary. So I'm trying to say, as you're writing these letters and as you wrap your mind and heart around each letter and the spelling of these words, that's where learning this language has its effect on you as an individual. And then you look at the next word, ratzon, resh, Zadi, Vav Nun. Well, there's the Zadi and the Nun again, just like Zadi Nun Hey, the previous word. But Resh Zadi, and see, when you write this, when you're writing out these words, you keep seeing similar words. Aleph Resh Zadi is the word earth, but Aleph is the prefix that means I will, and Resh Zadi means run. So the word earth means technically I will run. Resh Zadi, Ratz, is a jogger on a certain route, a mail courier on a route, somebody doing a certain gamut. Ratzon is a word in the dictionary, means voluntary, desirable, pleasing, favor, or wish. Ratzah, resh zadi hey. Again, the benefit of the dictionary, you look at different prefixes and suffixes. It means restitution delivered. It's like if you have an insurance claim and they pay you and you go, oh, finally, I get compensation for this thing that I'd been paying for. Or say you have some stock portfolio that is due to give you what they call a windfall amount, so you can do something else, and you go, hey, if it came through. It's like, oh, whoa, great, I got it. That's what this word means. Accounted for as narrated. Resh zodid, the running, the zodi noon, sprouting this life, delivered as the story said. Well, that's the alphabet. The alphabet is the charade of the 22 pictures that tell a story, that tell the story that Yahuwah invented. So the reading of these 22 letters of his identity, of his heart, of his desire, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this for my people, and my people are going to do stupid stuff and get in big trouble, but I'm going to let them sprout back to life and give them all this great future to look forward to. That's the Ratzon. Tav, ayin, tet, resh, nun, vav is the last word. Ayin, tet, resh. Nun, vav is the suffix, means hour. Tav is this thing that's coming in the future. Remember, tav, beginning prefix or suffix, is either past or future. Crown and circle, surround, decoration, vignette, an emblem on your collar. It's some little piece of jewelry, as it were. But ayin, tet, vav, resh. See, here's how you stick a vav or a yod in between and look up another spelling of the word. It means removal, omission. It had ceased. So it's a certain decoration, but it also had been canceled or removed. And then as you start thinking about this verse, you realize when we look at world history and we say, where is the God of Israel? Where's the God of the Christians? I just heard that over in Afghanistan, some gruesomely horrible things have just recently happened to the people that were left behind when the American military forces abandoned the airport and left a bunch of allies. Things that you wouldn't even want to believe people would do to each other have been going on. And it happens every time one nation conquers another and leaves people behind. And it's like, and it's happening to Christians. And it's happening to Americans and people allied with America. And it's like, where's their God? Well, that's one of the other things mentioned here, that in Joel, if I can find it, because there's so many pages here. Joel chapter 2, verse 17, I think it is, or 18. It says, why are they allowed to taunt us regarding your absence from saving us from them? It's the end of verse 17, Joel chapter 2. Lama, why, Yod, Aleph, Mem, Resh, Vav, they declare Ba'amim among the peoples. Aleph, Yod, Hey is the word where, or where is. Again, it's like the existing. Where's the existing? Elohim, their God. Why has the history of the planet been allowed to develop, not just hundreds of years, thousands of years, story after story after story? It's like this Elohim of Israel is a goof, is a nothing, is incompetent, impotent. He's just like, why doesn't he ever show up? He said he's going to, but he doesn't. You guys believe in just fairy tales. That's what it looks like. Why? Verse 18. Then, that's the prefix letter Vav. Yod, Kuf Nun Aleph, Ikana. Well, that word kuna, kuf nun aleph, means jealous and zealous. Yahweh, la aretzo, about his eretz, about his land, vav yod chet mem lamed. Well, chet mem lamed means to spare, pity, or have compassion. It's a synonym with chesed and racham, al mo, upon his people. Why? What's going to change? 19, Joel chapter 2, vav yod ayin nun, because of, in a direct reference of, yod ayin nun. Here is a very specific action where things are all of a sudden going to change. Yahweh's jealousy and zealousy of not only his land, his people, his heritage, his word, because what? Yahweh Amer La'amo, Yahweh had declared to his people, behold, Hineni, here I am, Shalak Lakam, sending, dispatching, divorcing you. See, the word Shalak means to launch or to spread or to, might mean to divorce or eject, but also send a message. Lakam et Hadagon. Well, Dagon, that's the name of the fish god of the Ninevites, isn't it? But Dagon, Dalet Gimel Nun, means corn, grain, multiplied like fish. He had sent to you the multiplication and new wine and shining oil and the sworn oath with him, and no tonic of yours ever again trenched in the same hole with the Goyim nations. I'm reading the English translation here. It's like, wait a minute. Look at the last phrase here. Something is going to happen where he is going to restore all that he promised. The fresh pressed grapes, the fresh pressed olives, and Shin Bet Ayin Tov them, they have the sworn oath with him. There's not Aleph Tav Nun. That word in the dictionary means tonic. At kam, Aleph Tav Kaf Mem, with you, Od, Ayin Vav Dalet, that's again and again, repeatedly for real, ever again, trenched in with the Goyim. Chet Peresh, Hefer, it means in the same hole, or to dig or search out or explore or put to shame, or a pioneer. In other words, what he's saying here is that anytime we think we need to make an alliance with somebody else, we've just blown it with him. Anytime we have to look to human factors to solve a problem, we've blown it with him. His relationship with Israel is that when we have messed up with him by listening, by believing, by walking in his ways, that brings all the trouble. It's not a matter of that plant needs some water, go get some water and get it on the plant. That's what the nations see. That's what the nations do. They deal with, you might say, a one-to-one correlation of cause and effect. But with Israel, it's always, do we trust him? Did we do what he said? And we're not in the same condition of any of the Goyim. So when he allows us to all of a sudden realize there's a curse on the world because his people have been lied to, inherited teachings of falsehood, because he allowed their overlords to steal the truth from them, because that was part of the covenant. And then when the covenant has been satisfied, 2,730-year curse, okay, now you get to come back to my ways, but that means you need to correct the problem and come back to my ways. Oh, okay. And that doesn't mean that we are infidels, heretics, and satanically lied to, confused, disoriented, because we're trying to look at Yahweh's words and come back to what he said. It's what he said to do. Verse 20, Va'et ha-zafon. Well, Zadi Pei Vav Nun means secret, hidden, covered. It also means north. But Hadzaf means hope, expect, foresee, watch for. Aleph, next word, Aleph, Resh, Het, Yod, Kuf. Well, Resh, Het, Kuf, Rachik means far away, removed, unlikely, distance, dimension, improbable, delayed, extended. Mem, Ayin, Lamed, Yod, Kaf, Mem suffix means your. Mem means the place or away from. Ayin, Lamed, Yod is where you get the word aliyah, which means your prosperity, success, promotion, raised to a higher dignity. Vav, Hey, Dalet, Chet, Tav, Yod, Vav. Two letters in the middle, Dalet, Chet. Leading astray, misleading, dismissal, rinsing, cleansing, pushback, repressing. Postponed, deferred, delayed, stumbling. Al Aretz, regarding the entire earth. Zadi Yod Hey, dry waste, desert. Vav Shamama, annihilation, Shin Mem Mem. And Aleph Tav Paneo, his face, countenance, presence. Al Hayim, the sea. Hey Kuf Dalet Mem Nun Yod. Well, Kadem is previously, east, ancient, before, in front, preceded, advanced, succeeded, prospered, primary, primordial. It's the paleo. Vav, this is, I'm reading verse 20 of Joel 2. Vav Samik Pei Vav. Well, Seph, that's like the word Yosef, Seph, like Sefer, like Yom Suf, enclosed in a basin, goblet, hidden, closed shut. Samik Pei Yod is fed or gave to eat. There's something here that he's giving. Ha'im, the sea, toward the sea. Hey, Aleph, Chet, Resh, Vav, Nun. Well, Achar is the future. Acharon is those in the future, but one who stands behind. It's other, it's next, it's strange. It's like the word for Elohim, Achrim. Vav, Aleph, Lamed, Hey, the occasion of raising up. That's Aliyah again. Ascend, promote, prized, exalted, excelled. Ba'asho, with his fire. Vav, Tav, Ayin, Lamed, to heal, cure, water, canal, fresh new skin. Zadi, Het, Nun, Tav, Vav is to stink or a dead fish or dry drought. Ki Hagadoil La Ashot, for thus, because the majestic greatness being done. In other words, he's saying, listen, I am the guy that's got this all mapped out. I am the one who controls, sustains, ordered the story. And so going back to the Yod Hey Vav Hey that we were talking about, he's the guy who built creation. So look in creation and there's a story if you can read it. It's not just there's a tree, there's a bird, there's a cloud. How does it work? It all fits together, and it fits together as a fractal expression of the root message that there's a story in the code. What code? The code of creation. Well, where's the code of creation? Well, all you see is the manifest of creation. You got to figure out the code. What is it? Like the DNA of creation. And then you've got the Torah stories, the Hey of the Yod, Yod Hey Vav Hey. The Hey of the Yod is expressing, is telling. So in the stories, okay, so what's the fractal model in the story? Then you've got the Vav. Well, what's the Vav? Well, Vav is number 6. That's masculine. That's man, born out of Hey, the number 5, which is the woman, the Dalet, the door. So I could say, well, if Vav is to be a human man, well, that's the Messiah. There's this concept of the Messiah who's the human manifest anthropomorphization of the Hey of the Yod. So he who declared himself Yod Hey Vav Hey, who built the universe, the Yod, who gave us the Torah, his written, verbalized expression of communication, and then communicated as a man, as the human Mashiach Yeshua, then Yeshua's story, as it's played out, I can follow every letter of the Hebrew alphabet. There is the locking in of the code, the meaning of those 22 letters, and then the next Hey. Remember, Yeshua said, I'm not going to leave you alone, but I'm going to send you the Ruach, and he will lead you into the truth. What's the truth? The Torah. So the second Hey equals the first Hey. So you have a picture of this Yeshua, the Vav with the 2 Heys, and so you've got that expression like, I'm not sure who it was that drew that little picture of the Yod Hey Vav Shin Ayin that we were talking about last week. how do you turn the letters into these graphic concepts? The two Heys almost look like wings. But the idea is that Yeshua is identified like a bird with these two wings as the one who embodies the Torah and teaches his people to walk in the Torah. So when you have a Messiah figure who supposedly is identified by the one who is promised by the words of the Old Testament, but then because of it being a New Testament, changes the words, disavows the words, says those words don't matter anymore, and that there is no law anymore, he just invalidated himself from being the real Messiah. You can't say, this word validates me, so now I'm going to change the word and project it into the future as nothing. That breaks Hey Vav Hey, which means it exists, it stands, it is. Okay, so then what's the second Hey? When he said, I'm going to give you the Ruach, or send you the one who, this mind, this breath, this spirit, this courage. The word Ruach in the dictionary means all these things: mind, disposition, expanse, wind, breath, attitude, expectation, perspective, which is identical to what was feeding the stories of the Old Testament, which was Yeshua said, I only say what I hear my Father saying. I only do what I see my Father doing. So the same thing that was feeding his attitude is coming out and being expressed, leading us to walk just like he walked and walk in his ways. All of which is going back to the fractal code of the 22-letter Hebrew alphabet. So if you know what those letters mean and how they interact with each other, they'll never deny the true essence of Yod Hey Vav Hey, because Yod Hey Vav Hey is the one who built it as a pure expression of himself. So if you study the Hebrew words and what the letters mean and how they relate to each other, one of the mechanisms by which you know that you're on the right track is Hey will never invalidate Hey. The Ruach will never contradict the Torah. Yeshua, the Vav, will never contradict his Father's voice, his Father's action. You could call that the Yod. They have to be identical. So I've said before, you can have four voices, and they're four different things. But if you line them up like that, well, now the four are one. That's a chad. Was that a trinity? It's a quadronity. Yod Hey Vav Hey. But there's actually 22. Well, here's 10. But if I line them up like that, they can look like one. There's 22 that all have the same voice, the same heart, the same thing. And he said, verse 21, Joel 2, do not fear Adamah, that's land, Gili, Ve Sameaki, or Semki, Sameach is Shin Mem Chet. My rejoicing would be Shin Mem Chet Yod, but I could see Shin Mem is the place or the position, the inner attitude being of Chet Yod, of life. Joy and gladness, because majestic greatness, Hagadol Yahweh La'ashot. It's a similar reiteration of the verse right before, Ki Gadol La'ashot. The great things that he is about to do. And what's holding him back? Our believing him, our walking in his ways, our trusting him. And then he says again, El Tiro, do not fear animals of the field, because fresh green grass, suitable, fit, and proper, noon, Aleph Vav Tav. Well, Aleph Vav Tav, this is Neot. It means suitable, fit, proper. But Aleph Vav Tav is also a letter of the alphabet. As a word, it means a symbol of agreement or oath. So if we break down the spelling of the word, noon, engage the active reality of Aleph Vav Tav. Strong's Concordance doesn't tell you that Aleph Vav Tav means a letter of the alphabet. It means oath, symbol, or an agreement, a symbol of agreement. Suitable, fit, proper, noon, Aleph Vav Tav. The next word, Mem Dalet Bet Resh, midbar, as stipulated. Each one of these letters agreed as stipulated. Ki etz nasha. So if Ayin Zadi means tree, but it also means open eyes, take counsel. Nun Shin Aleph means NASA, lift up and carry, like NASA to lift up and carry, transport stuff into space. So as he's talking about trees who carry the burden of their fruit, peri is the next word. Tav Aleph Nun Hey, the word for fig, but it's also weeping, mourning, sorrow. The right time has come. Pretext. Vagafen Natanu Chayulim. Vines give up the army. It's like they're going to put out grapes like an army. There's different ways to read this. What I'm saying is that I could read this as saying, animals of the field, hey, you should rejoice because everything's going to sprout, everything's going to be wonderful. Why? I can go back and read this as saying, when we conduct ourselves with our attitude and behavior according to the oath as stipulated, na'ot midbar, and even the earth, the animals, the birds, the fish, the grass of the field, figs and grapes will burst into the life. Verse 23, Ve b'nei Zion, children of Zion. But the word Zion also means one who's doing what I commanded. Gilo, gladness, Sameach, rejoice, Beh Yahweh, Elohi Kam, your Elohim, for because given to you et Hey Mem Vav Resh Hey Ha Mora. Rejoice, children of Zion, you who, the word ben, being, bet yod nun, this is bet nun yod, but being means to compare, think, consider this compared to that. And it's like those of you who have chosen and determined to walk in his ways and listen to his instructions, believe it, do it, take it to heart, rejoice with exceeding gladness. Why? Because Yahweh your Elohim has given to you the Morah. What's Morah? Teacher. But remember, Or is light. Mor, Memvav Resh, is the place of light, but it's also, if you look at the word for Memvav Resh, it means a spear. So it's some kind of a weapon, a secret weapon, because Mora also means disclosure. So this is like a lightsaber. He's given you this secret weapon of a lightsaber. La Zadaka, of righteousness, but it also means victory, deliverance, and salvation. Vav Yod Resh Dalet. Vav Yod Vav Resh Dalet. There's that word for dominion and subjugation, but this is one who is subjugated over. So it says an emigrant away from Israel is impoverished. And it's where you get the word Yod Vav Resh Dalet. If you take out the Yod and put in a Mem, again, replacing a prefix letter, you get Mem Vav Resh Dalet, Morad, decline, bring down, rebellion. Well, that's where you get the word in English, marauder. So we think of marauders and pirates and corsairs. There's all these different words. It's like, yeah, those are good, mean, bad guys. And it's like, they're the rebels who are going to be, they're not righteous. They're the opposite. Anyway, Lakam Gashem, unto you, Gashem, it means rain, matter, actualize, substance. It's like they promise rain and now it's just this heavy fog, but when it's raining, it's like, oh, here it is. It's actually raining. That's the word Gashem, and it means to embody in concrete form, corporeal. It's essentially the betness of the Aleph. The Aleph, this idea, this plan, and bet, bam, there it is. There's this idea, I want to make light, and all of a sudden he says, it exists. That's Gashem. And then here's this word, Morah again, Memvav Resh Hey. Morah can also mean a razor, which means to lay bare. So there's this, he's given to us who choose to be B'nai Zion, the secret lightsaber weapon, as it were, which lays bare. Then here's the word, and this is, again, the end of verse 23 of Joel 20, Joel chapter 2. Vav mem lamed kuf vav shin. Well, kuf vav shin means to lay snares. Mem lamed kuf is to eclipse or to bite the head off a bird. Mem lamed kuf vav shin is translated the latter rains. To lay snares, eclipse, the secret weapon, he's laid it bare to us, the secret weapon of the latter rains. Then the last word is bet resh aleph shin vav nun. Well, resh aleph shin vav nun is a tadpole. The big head, little tail. Bet at, resh aleph shin first, as at first, resh shin nun. You look at those consonantal letters. Resh shin hey means take possession. To take possession of the promise that he made at the very beginning. Here he's given to us the truth of how to get it. That's what this verse is saying. Rejoice and be glad, children of Zion. What is it? Our attitude of expecting it to be so. When we can see in the promise of Yeshua being the Mashiach, being the one that had to come walk this path of death, disappearance in the grave, locked up 3 days and 3 nights, to burst forth in triumphant recovery. It's the fractal model pattern of Israel as a nation, of each one of us as an individual, of Yahuwah's words. The fact that the letters Pezadi, open mouth, detonate, explode, blossom, Yeshua bursting out of the grave, that death couldn't hold him, that he blows right through. The message is in the letter sequence. And the fact that you can see the Shemini Atzeret, the 8th stoppage lining up with the Zadi, which is the Sabbath day, Pei, Sukkot. One more matter. Yeah, you're doing these 7 things, but one more, Shemini Atzeret. Why do people forget that day? What do these things mean? We're going to stop here. And there's more I could say about these things. There's a lot to this, but I want to leave this open for you guys for a few minutes to go ahead and talk about or respond. What I'm saying is that the concept that he keeps saying again and again is that it looks like he is not here to save his people and help his people, because we, his people, have betrayed the sworn oath, the stipulations, for hundreds of years, thousands of years in our own life. The whole idea of making a big deal about his language, these 22 letters, is because it's what he gave us. It's what he said. Recognizing Yeshua as the Mashiach, and again, Mashiach means the tangible communication, the communication right here in our midst. And he's now going to walk out the storyline as a narrative, showing us exactly the 22 letters. And it includes being abandoned and coming back in great favor. So that's the hope set in front of us. The secret weapon then is for us at this time, this generation, even in the midst of terror, of fear, of threat, of dismay, of like, if he's not going to help us, then I don't care about going into the next month, the next year, the next century. As Moshe said, Yahweh says, look, I'm sick of you guys. You just go into the promised land without me. And Moshe said, if you're not going with us, then forget it. Just don't even take me. Kill us all out here in the desert. If you're not going with us, it's not going to be worth it. Well, the people of Israel have now endured nearly 3,000 years of dragging themselves through this wilderness of earth without his attention, without his favor, without his real presence as of what he promised, what he said, what his mind was when he says, I've got this great vision. I'm going to be your Elohim and you're going to be my people. And man, no one's going to even think of touching you, because if they do, man, it's coming down hard on them and they'll regret. It's what he says all through here. verse 27, then they'll know that in your midst, Israel, I am. Ve'ani Yahweh Elohim va'ein od. I am Yahweh, your Elohim, and there ain't any other. Ve'lo ishbo ami leolam. And never again, shamed, disgraced, dried up and withered, my people forever. Hasn't happened yet. That's the last of chapter 2 of Joel. The thing that's been holding it back this whole time is for us to Vayikra b'Shem Yahweh. Learn how to read. Call out on his name, in his name. And his name is the whole thing. The whole 22 letters is his where he's at, the storyline. That's why Yeshua had to come walk out that storyline, because that's his Shem. He had to show it working. Why did he have to die? Why did he make it thus? Why did he lay out these 22 letters? Everything we see is a manifest of how those 22 letters fit together, even the way that the tree, the fog, the bird, the fish, the flower, the dynamic of relationship, male and female, an individual's thoughts of going through personal trauma or hopes or fantasies or imaginations, or it's all part of the expression of this whole thing. And so Yeshua had to come giving each one of those pictures as a charade. And if you throw away the Gospels, you're never going to see it. Anyway, let me open this up if you guys want to have anything to say about this.
Hi, Shalom.
That's Carla.
Shalom, Eric. Yeah, it's like you finish it like that, like the whole picture that you were presenting, right? Like you're speaking and I see it all and I'm looking at it all in my mind and I'm lost in there, and then you're like, so who wants to say something? And it's like, how do you? You're admiring creation right now. You just fed us so much manna. And it's like, wow, you know?
You know what I was thinking, Eric, when you were there toward the end there talking about how his name is these letters and all that. And I was thinking, wow, his fame is our music and his name is our song.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Hallelujah.
The confidence, the assurance, the reality. When he says we're not in the same trench as the Goyim, we're not in the same rut, the furrow. I mean, it's a whole different existence. Like you say, a whole different song. I had to do some work at a place this week, and they were playing music the whole time that was absolutely some of the most horrible music you could ever dream of hearing. And the juxtaposition, the contrast of what you're saying is so clear. And it's like, wow, you know, some people feed on music as a encouragement theme of their life, you know. Soundtrack of your life is the way one radio station called it back in LA years ago. Soundtrack of your life. And to know Yahuwah in these 22 letters as a sanity, the soundtrack of your life is these words.
So, sorry. So we have you read from the Stones Tanakh. Now we somebody was asking me about what translation I look at, and my statement to them was they're all equally as bad. So it doesn't. I don't really know if it matters anymore. Like what can we trust? It doesn't seem like we can literally trust anything. So something, all of it's a little bit wrong.
Yeah, you know, they all have a little bit right and a little bit wrong. Again, those are just hints. It's like Neil Young. I read his book a couple years ago, autobiography, and he was working on a type of musical system that would give you accurate, clear music. I forget what he called it. And he was working on it for many years, and he finally, I think it was that he sold it to Apple, and they just buried the thing. But he said that most people, especially with earbuds and stuff, you're only getting like 3% of what was recorded in the studio by the musician. 3%, like it's nothing. It's somebody saying, how did Tchaikovsky's 1812 overture go? It went something like da 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 da. It's like, what? That's not his. For me to just hit a couple notes off tune with a voice, and it's supposed to be a full orchestra, and you say that's a copy? That's a translation compared to just Yahweh's words. So only if you craw can you get really what he said.
Well, and then I watched that. Actually, I want to make this the after show because people get shy and they'll jump in. So I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna pray.
Well, just real quick, is there anybody else that wants to say anything for the record? I stopped early so that people could actually have time to say anything if they wanted to. Is there anybody out there that has something they wanted to say about this subject or add to the thought of the subject?
Well, I was just thinking earlier, correlating all of this to your other teachings of the Mishkan pattern, and when you subject yourself, as you said, to trust him and to do as he said, and he gave the pattern to do that you start outside of his Mishkan with your offering, and you willingly give of yourself, and then you work your way through the Mishkan to, the Holy of Holies, where only the high priest, which is Yahusha, can go. But he meets us, at the gate to make it possible for him. So I hope I have that correct.
There's certainly that you expressed. There's other ways to express it. I could supplement that, but I won't diminish from what you're expressing. But things are multiple layers. So to say that, well, you come in, you bring your offering, and only the high priest can go to the Holy of Holies, Kadosh Kodashim. Only the priests were allowed inside the Mishkan. The normal people didn't go into the covered place. They brought their sacrifice, their lambs, you might say, to the altar outside. But it was only the Kohanim, the priests, the Levites, that conducted the service even within the fence. So that wasn't available for people, generally speaking, either. But again, things are types and models that we can look at. So to look at any letter and say, well, the Zodi represents the Ark of the Covenant, we can't approach that. And it's like, it's ideas of righteousness, of doing what he said, which we can approach as a concept. So that's right. I'd say that looking at one model tells you one thing, looking at another model it tells you another thing, looking at another model, another way of referencing. Anybody?
All right. So some people are shy, Eric.
That's okay.
I know most of these people on the call right now, and besides Paul, you, myself, Mary.
You can shut it down if you want. I just want to make sure.
I don't want to shut it down for good. I just want to turn it into everybody making comments. Thank you. Keep them coming. And then I will end in prayer. Father, I just thank you for my brothers and sisters who are willing to join us and be able to learn your word and your stuff. And Father, there's confusion sometimes, and that we just no longer be confused. And most importantly, that we're no longer fooled. Again, Father, that we know your truth and we stick to it and we do it. and we just do it with a willing heart, Father. It's just so confusing. And as I hear people say, like there's people literally saying they want to go back to Egypt now, and I don't get it. But Yehovah, just keep us on the straight and narrow. In Yehovah's name I pray. Amen.
Hallelujah.
Amen.